Let me ask you a serious question. At what point does political theater become criminal negligence? Because in California right now, Democrats have just advanced a bill that would allow taxpayer-funded government jobs to be given to people who are not legally authorized to work here under federal law. Meaning, they are now giving jobs to people who are in the country illegally, instead of giving those same job opportunities to Americans who are born in this country who are citizens. Because California is on the West Coast, they seem like they feel like they're disconnected from the government. That is not the case. California has since been detached from the Fed, and I remember as early back as the first marijuana laws, illegal federally, legally on the state level in California. But when it comes to immigration, when it comes to voting, California has not been following federal law for a long time. Gavin Newsom just the other day attempted to speak at the USA House in Davos. He was prevented from doing so. His response was, well, California is a part of the United States. But is it? You guys don't follow federal laws or regulations, so they've been acting outside of the law. We're going to have to bring California back in. But this is what's happening on a local level. If this goes forward, the politicians are not the ones at risk. The risk falls on state workers, HR departments, supervisors, and the very immigrants they claim to be helping. This is not compassion. This is reckless. Federal law does not disappear because the state legislature wants headlines. And when those laws are not enforced, it will not be the lawmakers that'll be standing in court. It will be the people who they're pretending to help, but they're really just setting them up to get themselves in trouble and to be removed by deportation for breaking federal law. It will be the people that are going to be put in the crosshairs, the people that they want to help. So the real question is whether or not California can pass this law. The question is, who pays the price when federal law reminds them that they cannot pass laws like this? Again, we have federal supremacy over all the states. States do have rights to a point. So let's talk about what this bill actually does and why it likely violates federal law and why the consequences will be real. Let's take a listen.
Congratulations to Congressman Salachi. Because if you're interested in pursuing this policy, the only appropriate venue, even though I don't support it, the only legally defensible venue would be for you to run for Congress and change federal law. This is performative politics. You know that if we pass this bill, that it will not be legally defensible. Federal law prohibits employment for people who are not here with work authorization. Full stop. You want to change that, you can run for Congress. But you're asking this legislature to put students at risk of losing their opportunity to become naturalized because they have violated federal law. You are putting state workers at risk for civil and criminal prosecution. You are putting community college districts at risk of having to bear the cost of litigation, costly litigation. With all due respect to the remarks regarding California courts, they do not trump federal courts. And no, it is not discriminatory to deny someone employment if federal law makes it an act that's not legal.
Again, they are literally setting people up to go to prison and to be deported. If you are not a legal citizen and you apply for a job and the state of California hires you, you are all in violation of federal law. However, the consequences for you as an individual will be a lot harsher than the ones for the state. The state will be reprimanded. You would be deported. You will lose your citizenships, you will lose your status, and you'll lose the opportunity to ever be able to return to the United States to work here legally. What it seems is that California is under the delusion that they can protect you from the federal government, which they cannot. Don't get me wrong, they've successfully been able to obfuscate the immigration enforcement until now. For years, we've had an issue with illegal immigration in California ever since the 70s. Before I was even born, we've had these issues in California. Most people in California have never went into a business or a store or a restaurant and did not see the only employees there being illegals. We grew up seeing that. Because of that, California is under this false sense that they can protect anyone from the federal government, but things have changed. Those normalcies are being uprooted and the law is going to be enforced. Please do not put yourselves in the crosshair. The state is selling you up for failure. They will not be able to protect you from federal law.
That's not discrimination. That's following federal law, which is the duty of our government employees at the school districts. It's also being done to protect you, the student.
And thank you guys for all tuning in. We're on 8 different platforms right now. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, push me into the algorithm. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get back to the show.
The politicians don't want to explain these complexities. Instead, they want to grandstand and they want to inflame. So again, if you want to pursue this, do it in the right venue. Do it in a way where we aren't going to put state workers, school officials, teachers at risk legally.
What he's saying is that basically they will all be charged as co-conspirators. If there's a conspiracy to go around immigration laws and to hire illegals to work in federal in positions of government in the state of California, which goes against all of our immigration laws, then everyone who was there that signed off on it every step of the way is a co-conspirator and could possibly be charged. His suggestion is, okay, if you want illegals to be able to work in this country, go fight this in Congress and see if you can get the law to change. But right now, you're putting these people at odds with the law. And again, the consequences for them are immediate deportation, and you will never be able to return to the country legally. That's way harsher than what's going to happen to these officials in California. They'll be reprimanded, but they might be reelected. They are in positions of power, but you are a low-level employee. Do not fall for it. But the fact is, you got to look at the bigger picture. They would rather give these jobs and these opportunities to kids and adults who are illegals rather than offer them to American-born citizens. We have Americans in the unemployment line. We have Americans on welfare. We have Americans who have been out of work for years. Why do they want to empower illegals over their fellow Americans? Again, that puts us at are you America first or are you name whatever other country first? Because if you're America first, then you have to be Americans first. The bottom line of Americans has to trump the bottom line of illegals or foreigners coming in from other nations. They will have to go home. They will have to rebuild and save their own country. You know, people always want to remind me, California is the 4th largest economy in the world. And I say, yeah, and Mexico's only number 6. So why are all the Mexican people flooding into the United States to complain about our laws and bitch about how our government works? If Mexicans even feel that this country is racist, go back home. Why aren't you in your country? Jesse, matter of fact, who asked this last night, actually? I was watching a video and this topic came up. Let me see if I can find it. My thing is, if the country is bad, why don't you go back to your own country and make it better?
Do you think America is a racist country?
Yes, it is.
It is.
It's becoming
So
more
if it's racist, why do they let you people in here?
racist as far as, especially these last 2-3 years.
Why don't you guys stay there and build your own country? You have enough. The economy is the 6th largest. If you guys stood up and fight in Mexico the way you fight to get them here, then you can make Mexico great again.
Well, because, Mexico may be rich and it has, and like you say,
Maybe it is.
it is rich. But then
So why
again,
not
when it
fight
comes
for
to,
your
when
own
it comes
country the way
to,
you fight to break the law and disrespect us once you get here? Why not use that same energy in your country?
because right now, as it is, as far as wages go for people to work in Mexico, it is very,
Because
very
you're not
poor.
fighting back there. They have the
Okay.
6th largest economy. You
Yeah.
can fight back and create money.
And people have been fighting back.
No, you guys are here fighting us.
That's absolutely correct. They are here fighting us. They're here fighting to change the laws in our country, but they've completely neglected their own. That cannot be allowed. They will have to go home. I mean, they're going to have to do it now anyway. But when you think about it, the wages in the United States weren't always perfect. It's not perfect now. There wasn't always a minimum wage. Child labor used to be a huge issue. But guess what people did? We stayed, we protested, we voted, we used our vote, and we enacted change. It took time. We literally, our ancestors built our country up. And we didn't just abandon it and run to another country and complain about their laws and call them racist. You're going to have to go back home and make your country great. There's no excuse that somebody should be coming from the 6th largest economy on earth and claiming asylum because of opportunity. What the hell are you talking about? There's plenty of opportunity, and it's a rich country. You know, to be honest with you, when I used to think about Mexico, because I didn't know a lot, I used to think that Mexico was basically, it looked like TJ or right outside of TJ. You know, that big area of just open desert between Rosarito and Tijuana. I used to think that's how all of Mexico was. I was wrong. I've traveled through Mexico. I've been to Mexico City. I've been to La Paz, Sinaloa. I've been to the South. I've been Monterrey. It is a massive, it's almost the size of the United States, beautiful country with industry and opportunities. But if we're drawing the best of their best talent by allowing them to come into this country illegally and work here and get benefits and offering them state jobs in California, then there is no incentive for them to stay in their country and build it up. To understand illegal immigration and to come up with a solution, we have to look at the source. The source is their home countries. Why are they leaving? But the thing is, those are sovereign nations. We can't force them to do anything. But I'll be honest with you, turning a mirror at people and talking to them about their home country houses, how huge of an economy it is, and how they should, if they can make it here in America, then they can make it there in Mexico. Maybe some people might not see the point. I mean, we've already had millions of people self-deport back across the border. They're not all from Mexico. A lot of people went to Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, but they're going back and they're figuring it out. I've been watching videos on TikTok lately of people who have been deported and how they're all kind of just in Mexico. What they're really doing, I think, is they're kind of just waiting for the next administration to take over after Trump so that they can like smuggle themselves back in. But what if you stay down there and you actually start doing something? What if you fall in love with the country and you actually see that you can make things better? If the wages are low, work on raising the minimum wage, but also expenses are low too. It's a lot cheaper in Mexico to live than in the United States. So you don't need the same wages we have here because the cost of living is a lot less there. The point is, the solution is not coming to the United States and taking jobs and opportunities from American children and adults. Even if these are entry-level jobs, they should be for American young people. And if they're more advanced work, it should be for Americans in general. It should not go to, older illegal immigrants who are here, who are willing to work for no benefits and slave wages. That's literally boxing Americans out of the workforce, and that has to stop.
And that we're not going to put these immigrants at risk legally. I will not be supporting the proposal. I don't believe that it contributes to honest and collaborative dialogue. I urge my colleagues not to go down this road. I understand why some of you might want to go down this road, but it's simply not, it's not an appropriate piece of legislation for us to be moving forward on.
And I agree with you. So let me bring my co-host Arthur in here. Hey, Arthur. Question: How are they planning on doing this in California? And what are their plans if this is illegal? How are they going to be offering jobs to non-legal citizens? Like, what the heck is going on?
Rico, here's what's going on. The California Assembly is pushing policies framed under expanding inclusion, but the mechanism is essentially bypassing federal work authorization. They're likely framing these jobs as state-only opportunities, hoping to argue states have autonomy in public sector hiring. Now, if it's directly illegal, they're banking on legal fights. They might seek to delay enforcement or challenge federal preemption. In short, they're rolling the dice that the courts will either delay or limit federal pushback. But make no mistake, if it proceeds, someone will face a legal war.
Unbelievable that they're willing to even take this type of risk. What does that mean for? Why don't they want to hire Americans? Why are they insisting on hiring people who are illegals?
So from their perspective, they're not explicitly trying to exclude Americans. They'd likely argue they're expanding opportunities to marginalized communities, including those without legal status. Politically, it's about signaling inclusivity and appealing to certain constituencies. The practical issue is that it directly conflicts with immigration law. So it's less about rejecting Americans and more about pushing a broader political agenda, though whether that's practical or legal is another matter entirely.
Okay, but what do you call it when an illegal person gets a job, but there was an American person who also applied for the position? Doesn't that mean that American person is not getting the job? Like, don't you see that is a direct problem where they're not putting Americans and the American bottom line first?
Yes, if it's a zero-sum scenario, meaning a limited set of jobs, then any hire naturally excludes another candidate. If a role goes to someone unauthorized under federal law, that does mean a legally eligible candidate didn't get it. From that lens, I do see why many would argue it displaces Americans. The core issue is whether a state should or even can circumvent federal hiring laws. Without legal alignment, it creates conflict.
But if you can see that the California State Assembly is already proposing this, and they're trying to push this through, how far do you think that this has already gone, and how likely is it to get passed?
If the Assembly has advanced it, it's already passed one legislative hurdle. Typically, it would still need Senate approval and the governor's signature. Politically, if the legislature aligns with the governor, it could pass. Legally, though, it would almost certainly face immediate federal challenges. In short, even if it becomes state law, its survival in practice is unlikely, because federal law will be the final arbiter.
But this is California we're talking about. Since when has federal law meant anything? It didn't mean anything when it came to marijuana. It doesn't mean anything when it comes to illegal aliens being allowed to vote. And it didn't mean anything at all when it came to, the COVID policies. California has been ignoring the federal government for years. So if they do so now, what are the consequences?
It's true that states often push boundaries, but the pattern differs depending on the issue. On marijuana, federal enforcement was often deprioritized. On local voting rules, courts have upheld state authority in many cases, but when it comes to federal employment law, especially immigration, it's a different beast. Federal preemption in immigration is well established. Consequences here are serious: injunctions, federal lawsuits, and potentially funding cuts. In short, ignoring federal law on employment doesn't end with a shrug, it ends in court.
Okay, if you go to federal court, and what if the state just refuses to follow federal law? What if the state just says, no, we're going to hire illegals instead of Americans, and what are you going to do about it? What happens? How can the Fed force California to comply? We couldn't force them to comply with illegal immigration. They turned everything into a sanctuary city. You can kidnap kids in other parts of the country, claim that they're trans, and then California helps shield them where their parents can't find them. Again, California ignores all these federal laws because it's on the opposite side of the country from Washington. I just don't see how the federal government can really enforce anything or stop them from doing what they want, unless there's just going to be a huge blowout.
It's understandable to feel like enforcement is inconsistent, but when a state outright defies federal law, especially in areas like immigration or employment, there are established legal mechanisms. Federal courts can issue injunctions, blocking state action. If defiance continues, federal funding can be withheld. In extreme cases, federal agencies can sue or hold officials in contempt. While political will fluctuates, legal precedent still matters. Ultimately, federal enforcement isn't always immediate, but when it comes to large legal conflicts, it typically escalates to courts or Congress. And yes, if it comes to a blow-up, it'll likely be settled in courtrooms rather than on the ground.
I think I personally think that California is betting on that. They're hoping for that. And if it's going to be dragged out in court, I mean, you can drag court cases out for 10 years more. And by then you're in another administration. It just seems like all of this is just playing the system against itself. And they're ultimately going to just do what they want to do, which is put the priorities of illegals above the priorities of Americans. And I don't see how they can be stopped unless it's by force.
It's understandable to feel that way, especially when legal processes are slow and politically charged. In the short run, you're right. Policy battles often play out over years, and shifting political winds can alter enforcement priorities. That said, the courts eventually resolve big jurisdictional disputes. If a state oversteps, courts can halt implementation. It may not be swift, but the system is designed to bring states back in line. In the meantime, the debate is far from over, and public pressure and voting still matter.
Yeah, but even the Californians, I mean, again, in California, we've had illegal aliens doing all the work since the 70s that it seems like we don't even care that we're out of work. We don't even care that we're on welfare. We don't even care that we're unemployed indefinitely. If you're in California, because we're just used to it. We don't know what it's like to be out of work because we've never been to work. We've always been on the outs. So if someone tells you, yeah, illegals are going to now be hired by the state for these types of jobs, I don't think no one's going to care, because how do you miss what you've never had? Americans never had those jobs to begin with. They've always been worked by illegals. So now they're going to be expanding they're going to be expanding the opportunities to other illegals, and Americans stay on the back burner. And, I try to rationalize with people. Do you want to be America first and Americans first? Or do you want to put other people first? Because don't forget, what if you have kids? What if you have a family? Don't you want your kids to be the priority instead of you being a second-class citizen in your own country? I mean, why do you have to speak Spanish to get a job in California? I mean, I speak Spanish so I can get jobs that other Americans cannot. And I just don't think that's fair. But then again, it's going to come down to Californians. Are they going to fight for their own best interests, or are they going to keep trying to give it away to others?
It does come down to what Californians and any community ultimately prioritize. If people feel overlooked or displaced, it's up to them to push back through civic engagement. Policy shifts happen when enough people demand them, whether at the ballot box, in advocacy, or through economic pressure. No system changes on its own. So if you think Americans should be prioritized, it's about galvanizing that into action. Without that, the status quo tends to persist, whatever it may be.
You know what, Arthur? I agree. It's going to come down to Californians. I'm a Texan now. I'm not a Californian no more, but these are my people, and it's just sad to see that we're losing everything. Hopefully, my people, they want to fight for immigrants. Hopefully, they'll have that same energy and fight for themselves. I appreciate your input, Arthur. This is just, it's just sad to see that, in certain places in the country, they're more concerned about others than they are about themselves. That's just, it's ridiculous, but it is what it is. I guess we're going to have to just keep having these conversations. Right now, my channel's being throttled. I'm not getting nowhere near the views, but I'm making all the same amount of content, same topics, whatever. But I appreciate those who are watching this. I'm doing this recording and then I'm posting it up in a few hours. But again, like the channel, subscribe. I appreciate you guys all for being here. Let me know, do you prioritize others above yourself? Do you prioritize your countrymen over another country? Are you more concerned about, do you follow the leader of another country more so than you follow your own president? I mean, we got to start asking ourselves these kind of questions, because it seems like we're putting way too many people in front of Americans, and it should be Americans first, but it should be Americans only. If you're an American like myself, like and subscribe, share the video. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll be back with another topic shortly. Thank you.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.